A 21-year-old soldier was punished with a task no one wanted, cleaning a basement that had been abandoned for decades on a military base. What he discovered down there didn't just change his life. It set something in motion that would ripple through everyone around him. A moment no one could explain. A moment some would later call a miracle of the Virgin Mary. But before we go deeper, pause for a second. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I want to see just how far this story travels. Marcus Reed woke up every morning at exactly 5 a.m. No alarm needed anymore. His body had adapted faster than his mind ever could. 21 years old. Second month as a recruit. A military base in South Carolina. Marcus was the kind of man who believed only in what he could prove, what he could see, what he could touch. Nothing more. No religion. No church. No faith passed down. Just him and his mother growing up. A small house. A practical life. No illusions. The base itself carried history in its bones. Built in the 1940s. Some buildings had been renovated, modernized just enough to stay functional. Others had been forgotten. Building C was one of those. 3 floors of cold gray concrete. Windows clouded with age. Doors rarely opened. And the basement. No official rule said you couldn't go down there. But no one did. Tuesday, 7 a.m. Marcus arrived 3 minutes late for formation. That was enough. Sergeant Cooper didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. One look said everything. Reed. Building C basement. Full cleanup. Today. Silence. The other recruits avoided eye contact. Everyone knew what that meant. That basement wasn't just dirty. It was wrong. Marcus didn't argue. He grabbed gloves, a broom, heavy-duty trash bags, and walked there alone. The fence around Building C was rusted through in places. The grass hadn't been cut in months, maybe longer. The main door resisted when he pushed it open. Metal scraping, hinges groaning. Inside, the air hit him immediately. Damp, stale, old. The kind of smell that sits in your lungs. Peeling paint curled off the walls. Exposed wires hung like veins. Broken windows let in strips of gray light that cut through the darkness in uneven angles. At the far end of the corridor, the staircase. Every step down creaked under his weight. Marcus gripped the rusted handrail, testing it before trusting it. When he reached the bottom, he stopped. The basement stretched farther than he expected. At least 20 meters long. Concrete walls sweating moisture. Dark stains spreading across the low ceiling. Rusty pipes overhead dripping slow, uneven drops. Boxes were stacked everywhere. No order, no structure. Broken chairs. Collapsed shelves. Furniture reduced to shapes. Cobwebs hung thick enough to look like fabric. And the dust. It covered everything. A dense, untouched layer. The kind that tells you no one has been here in years. Maybe decades. Marcus stepped forward. The air felt heavier with every movement. Each step kicked up clouds of dust that floated in the dim light like ash. Breathing became work. He started near the stairs. Worked methodically. Bag. Sweep. Move. Hours passed. His back damp with sweat despite the cold. Hands coated in grime. Throat dry. Irritated from breathing in particles he couldn't see. 3 hours later, he reached the far corner. The darkest part of the room. An old wooden shelf leaned against the wall. Rotten. Warped. Barely holding together. Boxes on top were moldy, collapsing into themselves. Rust everywhere. Decay in every direction. And then, he saw it. Marcus froze. Completely. Sitting in the middle of all that destruction was a statue. The Virgin Mary. Small. About 30 centimeters tall. Hands together in prayer. Head slightly bowed. A blue mantle draped over her shoulders. For a second, Marcus thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The light was bad. The air was thick. He blinked. Stepped closer. No, he wasn't mistaken. Everything around it was ruined. Rotten wood. Mold. Dust layered thick over every surface. The shelf itself looked like it could collapse at any moment. But the statue was perfect. No dust. No cracks. No stains. The blue of the mantle was deep. Rich. Untouched by time. The white of the robe, clean. Almost glowing in the dim light. Even the face. Sharp. Detailed. As if it had just been placed there moments ago. Marcus slowly turned his head. Looked around again. Everything else was decaying. Everything. Except that. He stepped closer. Reached out. Hesitated. Then picked it up. The surface was smooth. Dry. No signs of damage. No explanation. Marcus turned it over in his hands. Nothing. No markings. No clues. It didn't make sense. Not even a little. Decades in a basement like this. It should have been ruined. Like everything else. Marcus wasn't religious. But he wasn't stupid either. He knew when something didn't add up. And this didn't. For reasons he couldn't explain. He slipped the statue inside his jacket. And kept working. By the time he finished, the basement looked better. Not clean. But less forgotten. Back at the barracks. He showered. Ate. Returned to his room. Before going to sleep, he opened his locker. Took the statue out. Looked at it again. Still perfect. Still impossible. He placed it back inside. Closed the locker. Turned off the light. He had no idea that in 3 days, everything in his life would change. Thursday, 2 p.m. Training field. An aide came running. Reed. Sergeant Cooper needs you. Now. Marcus felt it immediately. That shift. That feeling when something isn't right. He ran. Cooper was already waiting. Face serious. Phone in hand. Reed, the hospital called. A pause. Your mother was admitted. Emergency. Severe kidney failure. Marcus felt the ground disappear beneath him. You need to call. Now. His hands shook as he grabbed the phone. Dialed. A calm voice answered. Professional. Detached. Your mother experienced acute kidney failure 2 hours ago. She's stable for now, but the condition is critical. Marcus swallowed. How bad? A pause. Without a transplant days. Maybe weeks at most. Silence. Marcus ended the call. His legs nearly gave out. Sergeant, I need to go see her. Cooper exhaled slowly. You'll get weekend leave. You leave tomorrow morning. Back Sunday night. Tomorrow. Marcus's voice cracked. That's the order, Reed. That moment. When everything stops. When the world keeps moving. But you don't. Marcus walked back to the barracks. Alone. Sat on the edge of his bed. His mother had been sick for years. On the transplant list. Waiting. Always waiting. He opened his locker. Took out the statue. Held it in both hands. He didn't know how to pray. Never had. But the words came anyway. Quiet. Broken. If you're real, please. His voice caught. She's all I have. Silence filled the room. Distant voices outside. Life continuing. Marcus placed the statue back inside the locker. Closed it. Friday. 5 a.m. He was already on the bus. 3 hours later. Hospital. Room 313. He stood at the door. Hand on the handle. Took a breath. Knocked. Inside. His mother. Pale. Weaker than he remembered. She opened her eyes. Marcus. He moved quickly. Pulled up a chair. Took her hand. Mom. You didn't have to come. Don't say that. Silence. Machines humming softly. Numbers blinking. Did the doctors say anything? He asked. She closed her eyes. 2 years and 4 months on that list. A breath. Nothing. It'll happen. She didn't answer right away. Then, I don't know if I have time, son. Those words stayed with him. Long after he left. When he returned to base Sunday night. Everything looked the same. But nothing felt the same. And somewhere, deep down, something had already begun. The improvement didn't last. It stopped. Abruptly. The small progress her body had been making just disappeared. Without warning. Without explanation. Marcus received the call at noon. The words came calmly. Professionally. But they hit like a blow. Her kidney function has stopped responding. A pause. Without an immediate transplant, she has days. Maybe less. Days. The phone nearly slipped from Marcus's hand. We're doing everything we can, the voice continued. But without a donor. Silence filled the space between them. Marcus hung up. He didn't remember doing it. He just stood there. Frozen. Reed. Sergeant Cooper's voice came from behind him. Softer than usual. Go to the barracks. Rest. A pause. I'll see what I can do about another leave. Marcus nodded. But he didn't feel his body move. He walked back like something empty. The barracks door creaked as he pushed it open. Inside. No one. The room felt too quiet. Too still. Marcus reached his bed. And collapsed to his knees. For the first time since he was a child. He cried. Not controlled. Not silent. He broke. For his mother. For the distance between them. For the helplessness of knowing there was nothing he could do. He pressed his hands against the floor. Breathing uneven. Trying to hold himself together. Failing. His eyes drifted to the locker. He moved without thinking. Hands shaking as he opened it. The statue. Still there. Still perfect. Still impossible. Marcus grabbed it. pressed it hard against his chest. Please. The word barely made it out. His voice cracked. Please don't let this happen. Tears blurred everything. She's all I have. A breath. A whisper. Please. And then, something changed. The air shifted. Marcus stopped. The barracks were sealed. Windows closed. Doors shut. Winter outside. Cold. Empty. There were no flowers. Not anywhere. But suddenly, the air filled with a scent. Roses. Not faint. Not imagined. Strong. Clear. Undeniable. It was as if dozens of fresh roses had been placed right beside him. Marcus's eyes snapped open. He looked around. Nothing. No one. Just him. Alone. But the scent. It was everywhere. Wrapping around him. Filling his lungs. Surrounding him completely. And with it, something else. Something deeper. Peace. Not relief. Not hope. Something stronger. A quiet certainty. That he wasn't alone. That he had never been alone. Marcus didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't even think. He just felt it. The fragrance lingered. Seconds. Maybe a minute. Maybe more. Time didn't make sense anymore. And then, as suddenly as it came, it was gone. The air returned to normal. Cold. Empty. Marcus remained kneeling. Statue pressed against his chest. Tears still wet on his face. But something inside him had shifted. He could breathe again. Voices approached outside. Footsteps. The squad returning. Marcus wiped his face quickly. Tucked the statue back into the locker. Closed it. Jackson was the first to walk in. He stopped when he saw Marcus. Reed, you okay? The others followed. Davis. Johnson. Thompson. Stevens. They all saw his face. And understood. We heard, Johnson said quietly. About your mom. Marcus nodded. He still couldn't speak. If you need anything, Stevens started. Then stopped. Because there was nothing to offer. Not really. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. He lay on his back, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The scent of roses still vivid in his mind. Too real to ignore. Too impossible to explain. At 5 a.m. His phone rang. Marcus grabbed it instantly. Heart pounding. Preparing for the worst. Mr. Reed. The voice sounded different. Not calm. Not distant. Excited. We have important news. Marcus sat up slowly. We found a compatible donor. Silence. The words didn't register. What? A donor for your mother. A perfect match. It came through early this morning. We're preparing for surgery this afternoon. Marcus couldn't move. Couldn't think. She's been on the list for over 2 years. I know. The call ended. Marcus sat there. Frozen. Jackson stirred in the next bed. Half awake. That the hospital? Marcus's voice barely came out. They found a donor. Jackson sat up instantly. What? For today. The room shifted. Noise woke the others. What's going on? Davis asked, rubbing his eyes. Reed's mom, Jackson said. They found a donor. Silence spread through the barracks. Yesterday she was critical, Thompson said slowly. And today a donor just appears? Marcus didn't answer. His eyes drifted to the locker. The statue. The hours that followed. Felt endless. Training continued. Orders were given. Voices filled the field. But Marcus wasn't there. Not really. Sergeant Cooper pulled him aside before afternoon drills. You're excused. Marcus nodded. Returned to the barracks. Sat on his bed. Phone in hand. Waiting. 3:15. 3:30. For a clock. They said the surgery would take hours. Time moved. Slow. Heavy. Unreal. 6 o'clock. 6:30. Marcus stood. Saturday. Walked. Stopped. Repeated. The squad returned quietly. No jokes. No noise. They just stayed. Waiting with him. 7:45. The phone rang. Marcus answered before the second ring. Mr. Reed. A breath. The surgery is complete. Everything stopped. It was a success. The transplant is functioning perfectly. Your mother is in recovery. Marcus's legs gave out. He dropped onto the bed. She's okay? Yes. The word echoed. The prognosis is excellent. Better than expected. Marcus ended the call. Slowly. Looked up. The entire barracks was silent. Everyone watching him. It worked, he said. Voice breaking. She's okay. For a second, no one moved. Then, Johnson clapped. Slow. Careful. Davis joined. Then Jackson. Within seconds, the entire room filled with applause. Not loud. Not wild. Real. Sergeant Cooper appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Reed's mother, sir, Jackson said. She made it. Cooper looked at Marcus. long, steady, then gave a small nod, and walked away. That night, Marcus slept, deep, heavy, for the first time in weeks. And somewhere, quietly, something continued to change. The first 2 days passed slowly, not in silence, but in conversation. They talked about everything they had missed. His mother wanted to hear every detail about the base, the early mornings, the training, the discipline. Marcus told her everything, the routines, the exhaustion, the small moments that most people would never understand. And he listened, really listened. She told him about the hospital, the nights that felt endless, the moments when she wasn't sure she would make it, the quiet fear she never said out loud. They filled in the space time had left between them. On the third day, everything changed. They were sitting in the kitchen, morning light coming through the window, 2 cups of coffee between them. Marcus hesitated. Then he told her everything, the basement, the forgotten building, the decay, and the statue, the one thing that didn't belong there. He told her how it looked, how it felt in his hands, how it made no sense. He told her about the moment he didn't know how to pray, and did it anyway. He told her about the day everything got worse, when he thought he was going to lose her. And then, the fragrance, the roses, the impossible scent filling an empty barracks, the peace that followed, the feeling that someone was there. His voice slowed, softened, and then they called. He finished quietly. His mother hadn't moved. Tears streamed down her face. Silent, uncontrolled. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she whispered, "Did you bring it?" Marcus didn't ask what she meant. He already knew. He stood, walked to the bedroom, came back holding the statue. He placed it gently in her hands. Linda Reed held it like something fragile, something sacred. She looked at it for a long time. Then her voice came, barely above a whisper. She was watching over us. A pause. The whole time, her fingers tightened around it. Over you, over me. Another tear slipped down her cheek. She never left. Marcus swallowed. "Mom, I want you to keep it." She looked up. "She saved your life." A breath. "She should stay here." For a second, she didn't answer. Then she shook her head slowly. "No." Her voice was quiet, but certain. "She belongs to you now." Marcus didn't argue. He just looked at her. She held the statue closer, pressed it against her chest. And in that moment, neither of them needed to explain anything. On the 4th morning, Marcus woke up early. The house was quiet. He walked to the window and saw her in the backyard, kneeling in the soil. He went downstairs, stepped outside. The air was cool, fresh. "What are you doing?" he asked. She looked up, smiled. "Planting roses." Marcus glanced around. Small seedlings lined the ground. "Different kinds," she continued. "Red, white, yellow. A soft breath. They'll bloom in the spring." Marcus followed her gaze and saw it. The statue, placed at the center of the yard, leaning gently against the wooden fence. It didn't look out of place. It looked right. "I thought she should be here," his mother said. "A special place." Marcus walked over, knelt beside her, picked up one of the seedlings, and began to plant. They worked side by side. No words, just the sound of soil shifting, hands moving, planting life around something that had already changed everything. When they finished, they stood, looked at what they had made. "Marcus," his mother said softly. He turned. "Do you believe now?" He didn't answer immediately. He looked at the statue, and everything came back. The basement, the impossible cleanliness, the moment that made no sense, the prayer he didn't know how to say, the scent of roses in an empty room, the call, the donor, the timing, all of it, every piece. He exhaled slowly. "Yes." His voice steady now. "I believe." She smiled and returned to the soil. Because sometimes, miracles don't come with noise. No thunder, no lightning, no sky splitting open. Sometimes, they arrive quietly, in forgotten places, in moments no one is watching. And sometimes, that's exactly what we need. A reminder that we are not alone, even when we think we are. Marcus returned to the base on Sunday. Routine resumed. Orders, training, noise. Everything looked the same. But he wasn't. When he opened his locker, he paused. The space where the statue had been. Empty. For a second, he felt it. That absence. Then, he smiled. Because he knew exactly where it was. In a garden. Surrounded by roses. Exactly where it was meant to be. And everything had started. In a basement no one wanted to enter.